Last year, after being the first person in an EV to complete Ted's Opel Vauxhall run, an event we're looking forward to live streaming on the 9th of August 2025, I did the classic and modern car run based in the southwest of Ireland in our second-hand Opel Corsa-e, which proved itself to be an excellent camera car, being fast enough to catch up leaving each location last, but also being great for capturing the pure sounds of some of its more throaty cousins. After a discussion with Opel Ireland at the event, where I told them of my lifelong interest with Astras and Cadets, we arranged a 2-week trial of the latest Astra Electric to correspond with a visit from my in-laws from Germany. At the end of the trial, I embarked on a direct comparison test of a 380 km journey I'd made from Castletownbere in West Cork, where I live, to Dublin in the Corsa in 2023. Here's how that went, and some reflections on the 2 weeks with the car.
It's just after 6:10 this morning. It's a Friday morning at the end of September, and I'm going to do a long range 380 kilometer comparison test with this Astra Electric, this 2024 Opel, versus our 2020 Corsa, which I did an almost identical trip in at the end of December last year, just after we got it. So my journey comprises about an hour and a half of 80 kilometers an hour limited rural roads, followed by about half an hour of 100 kilometer national roads, and then I'm onto the motorway network for most of the rest of the journey. So it's a good test of these EVs on various types of road that you find in Ireland. I'm starting with the car at 100%. I haven't preheated it or anything. We live on a bit of a hill, so it'll regen down. It'll top itself up as it warms up this morning in the first part of the journey anyway, and that's been the same for all the cars that I've done this test with. I've had the car for 2 weeks now. It's an Opel Ireland press car, and I've been using it with our family. My wife's parents have just completed a visit to us, and I use this car for airport runs and for touring around and just evenings out where we went for meals, etc. And over the journey I'll give you a few insights to my experience with the car. It's obvious that I'm a bit of an Opel fanboy, so to speak. I grew up driving these cars, so I don't think I can genuinely give you an unbiased opinion of this car. So I think that the fairest thing I can do is to compare it against the Opel Corsa electric, and which is also a similar car to several available from Stellantis. So I think it might give you an idea of what it would be like to upgrade from that car, or perhaps you're considering either of these models. Now that's the slightly older Corsa that I would be comparing, but if you're thinking of making your first EV purchase, this might give you a bit of an idea of what to expect with one of these cars, and especially if perhaps you've been an Opel driver yourself over the last number of years. This could be a useful perspective, and also maybe just a bit of fun. It's a bumpy ride through this end of Castletownbere, and I've actually set the speed limiter to make sure I'm not going over any limits. and I'll do that throughout the journey. And that's one of the things I've been very impressed with this car, is just how well it soaks up the bumps. It's a 380 kilometer journey that I'm doing now to the outskirts of Dublin, and it's a set piece that I've done before, so I think this will be a fun comparison. I left at 6:08, I think it was, in the Opel Corsa electric, and I think I might have been 2 minutes behind in the Astra here, and I think we'll actually make up for that over the bumps in this early part of the journey, because just don't have to back off for some of the crazier ones, like I would in the Corsa. The car is giving me 422 kilometers of a range estimate at fully charged. At the speed I'll be doing, particularly later on, I don't think it would do that distance, but it's more than enough to complete a decent leg at the beginning of this trip. Short blast of 100 kilometers an hour as you leave Castletownbere, but that settles down to an 80k limit fairly soon. We're about 100 kilometers in. I've come on to the main roads now, and yeah, we're on about the same schedule as it was in the Opel Corsa at this stage, which is to be expected, because I've just been sticking to the speed limits. Okay, I'm passing the airport roundabout. It's 3 minutes past 8. I think I might be about 5 minutes behind the Corsa's time, and that's due because this is a weekday. There's quite a bit more traffic around this point. I've still got 234 kilometers of range left on the estimate. That'll drop because I'm going to be going faster very soon. I'll be on the motorway, and I'll be moving up to 120 kilometers an hour. But yeah, we're at 64% of the battery, so I did forget to trip at the very beginning, but we've done approximately 140 kilometers at this stage, and I'll be able to work that back at the end, but I know this is a 380 kilometers route. The efficiency is around 14 kilowatt hours per 100, which I think is very good. I think that's the trick that this car has up its sleeve. It seems to me to be a really efficient car. I haven't planned out my charging for the trip. I'm just going to see how far we can go before we need to charge, driving at the full rate that's available to me based on traffic or the speed limits. So yeah, I mean, the estimate is a 10:30 arrival according to Google, but we will need a charge before that. So yeah, we'll just have to see if we can make up some ground on the Corsa, but as I said, that's mainly due to the traffic. It's nothing to do with the car pushing at exactly the same kind of rate. So far I've been using the limiter to regulate my speed, but now that I'm on the motorway, I'm going to shift over to the cruise control because it adapts to obstacles ahead of you. Okay, so this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. I'm now passing Fermoy, where I charged the Corsa, and I was back on this motorway route almost exactly here. I just see the exit for where I rejoined, and that was at 9 o'clock on that trip, and I'm currently at 8:27, and I still have over 50% of the battery left, and that says a range of 170 kilometers. So this is where the Astra, with a not much bigger battery, just over 50 kilowatt hours, and the Corsa basically is a 50 kilowatt hour car as well, but has a usable capacity closer to about 46. But it's the efficiency of the new shape Astra, and I think it must be, they managed to give it that straight down nose, which is kind of retro. I really like it, but it's pointy, it tapers back at the sides, and I think that's how in particular it cuts through the air. Let's see how the assist works as I approach this truck. So it's there, it's dropping off. I find that I would like to get a tiny bit closer at full speed, particularly when you might be watching someone in your rear view mirror who's just a little bit further back. You want to claim your position at the right time, whereas you actually feel you might be holding people up at the time I come out. I'll do a measured section of efficiency on the motorway after I have a stop. And speaking of taking a stop, I've decided that the wisest and simplest thing to do is to take a charge at Cashel, where there's 5 Ionity chargers, plus there's the ESB eCars one available as well. Maybe I'm being a little overcautious. I still have 90 kilometers of range. I'm at 31% of battery left, and I could go another 55 kilometers, I think it is, to the Ballacalla charger. There's 2 outlets at that, but I find in this day and age to push on for something like that, it's just a bit risky. It could be busy and then there's an interruption to route. It's very, very unlikely there'll be an interruption if I pull off here at Cashel. So I'm just taking the most convenient and highest number of available chargers as my location to charge. I could do with a coffee at this stage, and because I've done now, let's see, we're at 210 kilometers into the journey. So it's starting to slow me just there, and I find that that's too early if you've got more traffic close behind. If you're trying to pull out with traffic in the distance behind, they'll feel you're kind of coming out ridiculously early and you're holding them. It's not kind of your right to pull out at just that point to maintain your journey speed. Quite a lot of overtaking trucks actually at the moment. The car has automatically slowed down behind one there, and yeah, that cruise control assist is really good. Still full hands on the wheel driving, but it's a nuisance with the regular cruise control, turning it on and off every time it kind of gets busy. So yeah, that's the car accelerating up by itself. I'm a little bit under speed here following this car, but this is my exit. It is 8:55. This is amazing. I think I'm going to start my first charge at the time I finished my first charge, but of course I'm further up the road this time. I suppose about half an hour, but I think that I'll make it to the outskirts of Dublin without another charge from here. Okay, I'm just back into the car. It's 9:15. I've got something to eat here. I didn't eat, and especially didn't have coffee, because I knew it was probably going to be a 3-hour leg before I had a pause. So yeah, it's going really well. I'm going to enjoy my food. I might be a little bit more talkative after I've had the coffee, and like, this feels like a perfectly natural time to stop and have a break in this trip. I charged to 88%. I put plenty in because I haven't rehearsed this, and I think with a little bit more familiarity with the car, you'd know what you need to complete the journey. It's about let's see, it's 150 kilometers from here. Right, I'm back on the motorway. It's just after 9:30, so just a little bit more than a half-hour charge. Lack of familiarity with the car, I decided to give it plenty, so it went up to 88%. That's where it really started to taper off. Just before that, it was still charging at about 40 kilowatts an hour, and I have, according to the meter, 358 km of range. I have 150 to go, so I have more than double what I need, really. So I've probably been a bit overcautious. I reset the trip meter, so we'll get an idea what the efficiency is on the motorway. This is the longest leg without an interruption of 120 kilometers an hour driving that I'll do. So that'll be interesting to see. And when we pass Portlaoise, we'll be able to do some comparisons with the time of when the Corsa completed its second charge. While I'm cruising along nicely here, I'll just go through a few of the things I like and the things I dislike about the Astra. Overall, wow, like, I'm really impressed. It's a huge generational step along in terms of EV driving from a mass manufacturer, legacy automaker, you might say. I've been driving EVs since the beginning of 2018, and yeah, this car is definitely a step up from the Corsa. So the little things are, just like I say, there was only a few tiny little things. The screen displays are really nice. You know, they make you feel like you're in a very sophisticated and high-tech position of control, and yeah, the display right in front of you is very good. The screens and stuff, the interface is just not actually as intuitive as the older one in the Corsa with the slightly smaller screen. Something I also liked about the Corsa is that there's a nice shape below where you can kind of lock your thumb underneath and steady yourself, because I mean, even here I'm actually bumping a little bit even on the motorway, and this is a good surface, but country roads and stuff, to be able to steady your hand well,
Now, they have to be commended for having lots of nice buttons below the screen, but they just take away that area where you could steady yourself. And it's a bit of a stretch to the far side of the screen, but it's a nice screen. But there are functions that the driver needs to reach right at the first extremity, but it is nicely curved towards you. But also, it is a shared screen. The passenger is able to interact with it, and that's kind of handy so that they can do their climate control things and whatnot. Big improvement on the Corsa is the speed limiter and the cruise control interface. It feels like there's one less click in most of the operations. I like the pause button for the limiter and the cruise control. Just if you need to pause them for a moment, you can come out of them, whereas with the Corsa one, you actually have to turn it off, and then it's a bit of a faff to turn it on, and it's a different button. It's really easy to switch over between cruise control assist and the limiter, so I like that. The OK button for confirming just feels, yeah, you can, when it sees the speed signs, you just OK confirm it once, whereas I think it was 2 presses of the memory button in the Corsa, and that was a little harder to find. The OK button sits right under your left thumb, so I really like that. I'm getting in the habit now of leaving my lane to overtake trucks a little bit earlier, so just maintaining a nice speed there in the cruise control. It has to be said, unfortunately, the speed sign recognition is really bad. Like, it hasn't picked it up here for the motorway. Again, there's big signs when you come down the slipways. There's a repeat sign just coming up here again. I don't think it'll pick it up, so it's just a blank. So, but on the upside, it's very easy to manually set it. Now, it's actually read that one, and I should have perhaps put the camera on it, but it read that 121 as 100. So they're the small little reminder ones, but there's big ones coming down the slipway. It doesn't seem to have picked them up. The Corsa, which is older, is much better at recognizing the signs. But having said that, the manual setting of them is much easier in this, so the swings and roundabouts there. Who knows, maybe it's not the car, maybe they're not logged geographically properly or not, but they seem to work an awful lot better in the Corsa. As an Opel enthusiast, you know I have my Cadets and my old Astras. I've got the original Opel Astra, the Astra F, and I've got Cadet Ds, which were the first cars to wear Astra in their Vauxhall form since 1980. I'm a real Opel enthusiast, and I liked in the Corsa, when I sat in, a lot of controls were exactly the same. The headlights work in the same way as they do in the older Astra, and I really miss the turn switch here on the right hand side to turn on the lights. That's a real Opel thing, and I liked that continuity, and I like when you sit into a car from the same brand that things are the same. That's a strong reason for brand loyalty, is that sort of familiarity. So I think it's a shame they've lost that, and it's the pullback type of for either dipping or turning on the main beams, which, look, you're going to do less often in a car like this, and I suppose they feel it's less of a priority now because you've got the automatic headlights. But I generally find they stay on just that little second too long, blinding people, which is a little bit scary on country roads. They probably work really well on the motorway at night, but I found my reaction was there waiting for it each time. And you could actually drive a good habit. You could develop that you can actually dip them yourself ahead and then put them back. They come back into the system again after you pass a car, but they sometimes come up and down when you do that, which is a bit of a shame. So still feel there's a little bit of work to be done there with those automatic dipping headlights. They are a good kind of assistance when you're tired, and you know you can actually use them like a fail-safe, so that if somebody else may have been driving on dips and you come around a tight corner at night, you might not have been as quick to dip, and they might beat you to it. But I would probably say, let's say 8 times out of 10 you'd be faster yourself. Very, very comfortable car. And for traveling around the collections that we did from the airports, bringing my parents-in-law around, I also collected my own parents after a trip they had, and the comfort level in the back over bumps is fantastic. It's streets ahead of the Corsa for that. Counter argument though is, it's for the tight driving. I took it for a bit of a test on one of my favourite mountain roads where you can see ahead up the hilly pass, and like, this is really not important to most people, okay? But to me, I felt that all of the directional change was coming from the front of the car. It is really set up towards understeer, and although there's no way you could get this car to swing in the back, and you can see that even if you just look at the car. It's got a big overhang in the nose, looks very, very good, and there's very little rear overhang. But I feel when you push on a little bit and you want to lean on the car, there's just no shift of weight towards the back at all, and I feel that over time you would really go through front tires very quickly. And I think I'd like just a little bit more bite. It's with a car of the weight of this, I found that even on a dry road, the turn in was just a little bit, you know, if you were pushing hard, it just wasn't quite sharp, you know, and that you'd be more worried about going straight on than getting into trouble by turning in and then maybe the back of the car sliding or something, which, look, that's definitely not a situation the average driver would want to get into. But I don't feel the back is making much of a contribution, and I do like the Corsa is really quite retro in terms of a back off oversteer, perhaps even to a fault, but a fault I quite like. That's where there's a bit of character. So I do find that the Corsa handles a bit more like the older Astra and even the Cadets, and I think I like that a little bit, and I think that you'd probably wear out your tyres a little bit more evenly if you were engaged in a bit of enthusiastic driving on a regular enough basis. But even probably over time, you know, country roads, long sweeping left and right hand corners, I think the front tires are working just a little bit too hard. That's a rare occurrence, so that would be something that kind of influences your day to day. The better comfort and ride over bumps, particularly living in rural Ireland, that outweighs everything. That is really, really a big improvement on any other EV I've driven in the countryside so far. You know, because they do have that little bit of extra weight from carrying a battery, but yeah, you wouldn't really know that in this, and you certainly don't feel any sway from it being a heavier car. They've got that weight. That weight is focused forward, I would say, in this. So that would be my impressions of the driving dynamics of the Astra. It's 10:05, and that's the time that the Corsa was arriving in Portlaoise. I'm only at about Ballacalla, so this is feeling a little bit like a race. Now, I think I've got enough of a charge to go all the way. 238 kilometers of range on the estimate there. So we're doing about 20.1 kilowatt hours per 100 along the motorway, and just as I say that, we're about to hit an 80 kilometers an hour limit, so I'm going to slow down for that there. We better get the statistics there. So yeah, it does about 20 kilowatts per hour at 120 kilometers an hour driving along. We've done 64 kilometers of that as a test. So now it says the average speed there is 109. I've noticed that seems to be a little low. Like the gauges seem to be quite accurate. So not sure why those estimates are so low of our average speed. But the Corsa would be charging at the moment further up the road. So it'll be very interesting to see what time it is when we're passing the exit where the Corsa would have rejoined the motorway after Portlaoise. There we go. That's where I rejoined the motorway in the Corsa, and I think it was at around 10:45. So it looks like we're half an hour ahead now in the Astra, which would make sense in terms of the Astra doing it in one charge stop. 70 kilometers to go, and I have 214 on the estimate, and still doing 120 kilometers an hour. So there's a good half-hour improvement on the 380k, and also by only having to do one charge, you're removing that whole layer of jeopardy in terms of broken chargers, having to go to ones where there's only one or two at the location. That's the benefit of having that bit of extra range, means you can really cherry pick where you charge and go to the places with multiple chargers. And yeah, it takes the doubt or the jeopardy out of the trips. You can go early or you can go late. That's interesting. I passed the Shanahan's rig before I stopped for the charge, and now passed it again just at 10:30. It gives you an idea that the charge only slowed us down to the speed of trucks doing a journey like this. Well, there you are, 10:58, like more than a full half an hour quicker than with the 2020 Corsa-e. And that's not to take away from how capable that car is. Second hand now, that car is half the price of this, so it's a very viable option. Personally, we wouldn't be in a market for a car of this value, so I'm looking forward to this being a second-hand car, and then maybe we can get our hands on it. And that might be sooner than we thought. Like when the Corsa-e came out first, it looked unattainable for us then, and within a couple of years it was actually possible with the trade-in of our previous EV. The efficiency of this is what's very interesting, is that it's not that much bigger a battery, but yet it's that bit more capable. And you know, to drive from Castletownbere to Dublin with a just over half an hour stop, I've got 37% of battery left. I didn't need to charge for as long as I did, so a natural half-hour break in Cashel. This car does normal driving exceptionally well. I'm very, very impressed. And it's not just by throwing a bigger battery, it's by better engineering and a car that just works well. It's evolved. So I must thank Opel Ireland for giving me the opportunity to drive this for a couple of weeks and experience it in a number of different ways. And I have to give it back now. But I will be happy to be back in our Corsa. There's a lot of pros to that car as well. I guess the next big challenge, I suppose, is to go from Castletownbere to Dublin without a charge. And at the moment, in cars of a reasonable value, that may mean going a little bit slower, but avoiding the time of the charge. It will be interesting to see. Thanks for watching.